It begins with a feeling so small you barely notice it. A tiny spark when your phone lights up with a message. A brief lift in your chest when a notification appears on the screen. A quiet, private rush when something new flashes into view. It feels harmless. It feels completely normal. But just beneath the surface of those tiny moments, there is a loop that your brain is slowly, quietly learning to depend on. This loop is built on dopamine, the chemical that signals reward. And the more often you trigger it, the more your brain begins to expect the next hit. You see, the addiction isn't really to the pleasure itself. It comes from the anticipation. The moment before the reward is when dopamine spikes the highest. It's the thrill of the maybe. And so your mind starts chasing that feeling again and again and again. You don't see it happening, of course. You tell yourself you're just checking something quickly, just taking a little break from work, just passing the time. But in truth, your brain has begun to link the feeling of relief with stimulation. It starts to treat quiet as a form of discomfort and noise as a form of safety. This is why stillness can feel so strange, why your mind drifts toward your phone even when you don't really want it to. Distraction becomes your default state long before you ever realize it's happened. And that's the thing. This kind of addiction rarely feels like an addiction. It feels like restlessness. It feels like boredom. It feels like a constant low-grade urge to refresh, to escape whatever's right in front of you. Every swipe, every tap, every new piece of content is teaching your brain the exact same lesson. Something more interesting might be coming. And that possibility, that's what keeps you hooked. Modern platforms are engineered to exploit this very mechanism. The infinite scroll, the autoplay video, the little red notification dot, they all mimic the unpredictability of a gambling machine. Your brain doesn't get a guaranteed reward, it gets a maybe. And maybe is one of the most powerful words in the human language. The more unpredictable the outcome, the stronger the dopamine rise becomes. So without even noticing, you begin to crave novelty more than you crave meaning. You seek out stimulation instead of real satisfaction. You reach for immediacy instead of depth. But the real cost of this cycle isn't the time you lose scrolling, it's the numbness that follows. When your brain is flooded with these tiny, artificial bursts of reward all day long, everyday life begins to feel flat. The simple pleasures that once felt warm and satisfying now seem muted. Your attention scatters into 1,000 tiny pieces. Your emotions begin to dull. You find yourself needing more and more stimulation just to feel normal. This isn't because you're weak or lazy. It's because your mind is completely overwhelmed. It's doing everything it can to avoid discomfort, even at the cost of your own peace. The loop deepens when you start using stimulation to avoid the emotions you don't want to face. Sadness, uncertainty, loneliness, stress. Each one becomes a trigger that sends you reaching for your phone. Your brain learns that instead of feeling your emotions, it can just drown them out with rapid novelty. And each time you choose stimulation over stillness, those pathways in your brain grow stronger. Real life begins to feel too slow, too quiet, too empty. And yet, somewhere deep inside you, there is a quiet awareness, a part of you that knows something is off, a faint memory of a time when your mind felt calmer and your attention truly belonged to you. It changes how you experience reality. When your brain is trained to expect constant stimulation, the ordinary moments of life can feel unfinished, like they're missing something. Waiting in line, sitting on the couch, even talking to a friend face to face can feel strangely hollow without a screen to fill the gaps. Your attention starts to split. Part of you is here in the moment, but another part is always leaning toward the next hit of novelty, the next notification, the next refresh. Over time, this split becomes exhausting. You find it harder and harder to focus on just one thing. Books feel impossibly long. Conversations feel sluggish. Work feels heavier. It's a frustrating feeling, but listen, your brain isn't broken. It's overloaded. It simply wasn't built to process this much information this quickly for this long. So it copes the only way it knows how, by chasing the fastest, easiest rewards and ignoring everything that requires patience. And the tragedy is that the things that truly fulfill us, deep relationships, meaningful work, real creativity, all require patience. They grow slowly, quietly, in the exact kind of stillness your brain is now trying to avoid. So you end up caught. One part of you knows you want more from life, but another part keeps pulling you back into the loop. The good news is that your brain is not fixed in this state. In the same way it learned to crave constant stimulation, it can relearn how to feel satisfied by less. But this doesn't happen through force or shame. It begins with awareness, just noticing how often you reach for your phone the second you feel the slightest hint of discomfort, noticing how quickly your hand moves when you feel bored or lonely or uncertain. That simple act of noticing creates a gap, a tiny space between the impulse and the action. And in that gap, you have a choice. You can decide, maybe just once today, to sit through a few seconds of that restlessness without numbing it, to just let your mind feel what it's trying to escape. At first, it will feel deeply uncomfortable. Your body will reach for stimulation just like it always has. But if you can stay with it, even for a moment, you start teaching your brain that stillness is not dangerous, that you don't need constant input to simply exist. Slowly, things begin to change. Your dopamine levels start to stabilize, the highs become less extreme, and real life stops feeling so flat in comparison. You'll start to notice small joys returning, the actual taste of your food, the feeling of the sun on your skin, the simple presence of another person. Your nervous system begins to remember that reality itself can be rewarding. See, dopamine isn't your enemy. It's a messenger. It just responds to what you feed it. When you feed it only quick hits, it screams for more. When you feed it depth and presence, it learns to slow down. This isn't about blaming yourself for the way you've been coping. It's about understanding that your brain brilliantly adapted to an environment that never lets you rest. And now, you have the chance to gently lead it back to a different rhythm, one where focus is possible, where difficult emotions are bearable, and where your attention, finally, feels like it belongs to you again.